One of the teams that I worked with, one of the Special Forces teams that I worked with in southern Afghanistan on our first rotation over there, was infamous for their attention to detail on their rehearsals. They could downright be a pain in the butt in how they set up their rehearsals and the resources that they needed for their rehearsals. They were always asking for things to be brought in to help them construct where they were rehearsing for their targets and the missions that they were going to do. And you know, I look back on that at the time, and I can even remember a little bit shamefully that I would get kind of aggravated sometimes. I was the ops director when they would ask for these things to be brought in so that they could, you know, build up their rehearsal. And you know, now that I'm older and I look back on it and I reflect on it, one of the things I'm struck by is that these guys understood at a time when it was absolutely critical that how you train is how you fight. How you practice is how you play. And they went to meticulous detail to create the objective the way it would look when they went onto the target. I mean, you can also look throughout history, the SEALs, when they took down Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, Pakistan, had created a replica of the target compound that they were watching down to where the street lights were and where the satellite dish for DirecTV was located on the house, right? So, you know, what we've learned through a lot of science in the last few years is that how you practice really does determine how you perform. And so the second week of that we are following with Deep Work for Deep Tracks, the theme this week is relationship to practice. I want to take a few minutes and share with you as you're moving towards your deep tracks and really committing to those. How are you doing on that, first of all? Are you staying with that? Are you looking at those deep tracks every day? Have you built your vision board, or have you put some kind of narrative up that reminds you of what you're here to do? And are you giving yourself that rocket fuel injection every day? Have you made it part of your regimen and your ritual? So I'm asking you to keep doing that and keep the quest for clarity going and articulating that to the people around you. But now we got to practice. We've got to train. We have to prepare. We have to do the things necessary to enable us to be relevant and to enable us to lead when the sun's not shining, right? To build a fire when it's been raining, like we've had to do here. That's a skill. That's not an instinct. You have to train for that. And that's what I'm talking about here. It could be any number of things. You know, I have to train now really hard when I'm going to go give a speech, or I'm going to teach at Fort Bragg or to federal law enforcement about how to make connections. If I'm going to get up in front of people, if I'm going to sit down, you know, with a Fortune 100 CEO and talk about how he needs to build trust in his team, I've got to train. I've got to be the most relevant guy in the room to even be of worth to him, right? So that's what I'm talking about here. How do you train? I go down here to the river. This is my story lab behind me, and I do the work necessary to become the storyteller I need to be, right? So for you, it could be on how you make an offer on the phone. It could be in how you talk to your employees about your company's vision. It could be how you talk to a donor about what you're trying to raise. It could be how you talk to your kids about how to be a better citizen. But all of that takes practice. Let's rely less on instinct and more on skill. There's a lot that has busted out the whole myth on high performance. You know, all of us were raised with this notion. You'd see somebody who was a prodigy or who had a lot of money or who seemed to have it all together, and what's the first thing we say? Oh, look, he's gifted. Right, Wes? Gifted. They're gifted. They're talented. They're study after study, whether it's the Little Book of Talent by Coyle, whether it's Peak, whether it's the Gold Mine Effect, all of the studies have completely refuted this myth on talent and being gifted, right? It does not exist. These people that do those great things that you look at and go, man, I wish I could do that, they have a different relationship with practice than you do. That's the difference. When Wes gets ready to go on tour, when Wes gets ready to get on the stage, we were just talking about this off camera, he builds everything the way it will be on the stage, and he practices and he grinds, and he's been doing it since you were how old? 13. 13 years old. He's built a relationship to practice. The good news is this, you can build that relationship anytime. You don't have to wait, you don't have to do it when you're a kid, right? You can do it right now. It's about building the habits, though, and understanding how this all works. So the first thing is forget this whole notion of being gifted and just being talented. What I'm going to ask you to do instead is be stupid in the sweet spot, right? Daniel Coyle, his book, Little Book of Talent, he says you got to be willing to be stupid. In other words, you've got to be willing to feel the pain that comes with making mistakes. And in this day and age, in the sea of selfies, right, nothing to see here except my beautiful smile and how my family's perfect, people aren't willing to do that. Kids aren't willing to be stupid when they're learning a new skill, like Wayne Gretzky, falls on the ice. Pro athletes, they're willing to look stupid when they practice. I'm asking the same of you. Are you willing to feel the emotional pain that it will take for you to learn to tell your story, to make a better offer, to communicate your vision, to restore trust, right? Are you willing to feel the emotional pain that goes with learning that new skill as your brain builds new neural pathways to do it? It's the only way. The other thing is the sweet spot. I want you to operate in the sweet spot when you're learning a new skill, mind, body, spirit, craft, storytelling, active listening, right? Whatever it is, when you're learning, shooting, whenever you're learning a new skill, I want you to be in that realm of struggle. I want you to reach, fall, reach again. It should feel uncomfortable. If it's comfortable, you're not doing quality, you're doing quantity. And those 10,000 hours that they talk about in the tipping point don't mean shit if all you're doing is walking on the treadmill and watching Oprah. That doesn't cut it, right? It's got to be a bit of struggle, and you've got to be outside your comfort zone, and then those neurons are firing and they're building new connective pathways for you to learn these new skills. Does that make sense? Right? So really important that you're stupid, being willing to be stupid while you learn a skill, the emotional pain that goes with it, and you operate outside on the fringes and you're outside your comfort zone. Really, really important. What does that look like? Well, I can tell you one thing is you're going to be alone a lot. Right, Wes? You got to be comfortable being alone. You got to be comfortable doing what you do on your own. You're going to be in the dark. What you do in the darkness, according to Michael Phelps, is determined out in the sunlight. The way you train in the darkness is realized in the sunlight, right? But no one's going to tell you to do it. No one's going to give you credit for it. It's a grind and that repetition and that regimen every day. That's why this type of work is not for everybody, right, Wes? It's just for the people who are willing to walk the miles and do the work. Again, I'm asking you whether you're increasing how you communicate with your clients, whether you're articulating your vision to your people, building a nonprofit effort, create a regimen, create a schedule that you train. What are the necessary skills that go with that? What are the communication skills? Do you need to be a better storyteller? Do you need to work on your active listening? Do you need to work on your trust building? All of which we talk about at Rooftop Leadership and we train you on, but then you have to go do the work. I have to go down to this river every day and do my tribal 12, do my rituals that make me better with my voice, that make me move better, that make me more connective, that get me out of my body and make me more intentional and more available, all those things, right? So you've got to build your own regimen and decide what those things are and develop a relationship to that practice, an affinity for grinding. And it needs to be at least 45 days so that you truly build a habit on that. And my promise to you is this: if you will do that, you will start to see a change in 3 R's. You will become more relevant to the people around you. You will become more resonant to the people around you. What you say will land and they'll go, huh. And you will become more relatable to the people around you. They will want to be around you, not feel like they have to. And again, that adds up to being more relevant, which for a rooftop leader is the ultimate metric of success. You're the most relevant person in the room, but it requires you having a different relationship to practice. So your homework is to build a regimen. Figure out what the critical tasks are that are inherent to the tracks you're leading, and then build a relationship to practice and a regimen that will help you do that. We're gonna talk about what that looks like in the next week and the next, so you wanna make sure you dial in. Follow us on Instagram at rooftop_leader, official Scott Mann on Facebook, at Real Scott Mann on Twitter. Make sure you sign up for these video blogs. No content like this anywhere else in the world for free, right? So rooftopleadership.com. Be a part of this tribe, be a part of this movement, and learn the skills that really get things done that no one else is willing to do. I'll see you on the rooftop.